DeMarcus Cousins is a 4-time All-Star. But what if I told you that the NBA was so scared of him, they kicked him out of the league?
Help me!
He was the 5th overall pick in 2010, and at one point, he was destined to become the best big man in the NBA. According to some people, he was the best big man. But why is DeMarcus Cousins not in the NBA? That's what he wants to know. I mean, he dropped 19 points in 15 minutes in his last game in the playoffs. And he wasn't just some interior big man with a game left behind. No, Cousins was out here crossing people over, shooting 36% from 3 on 5.5 3-point attempts per game. Just 4 seasons ago, he was averaging 25 points, 12.9 rebounds at 27 years old. He should be in his prime right now, but instead, he's hopped from team to team, from the Warriors to the Rockets, Clippers, Bucks, Nuggets. According to Bob Myers, the Warriors GM, it's because people are afraid of how Cousins is going to act. Because what DeMarcus Boogie Cousins did on and off the court scared the NBA. What is up, dudes, that's ballers players? It's your boy MJ. Draymond Green called DeMarcus Cousins the best big man in the NBA in 2017.
I think DeMarcus is the best center in the game.
Oh yeah, and also LeBron. He was a guy that could back you down in the paint with a lot of weight. 269 pounds, a bully, but then take you out to the perimeter and handle the ball. Heck, he was trying to be the third Splash Brother. But since the beginning, Boogie has always been different. Boogie was always talented and also a problem that other NBA stars were calling him out in high school. From Alabama, his personality, size, and temper drew immediate comparisons to another Alabama basketball star, Charles Barkley. And probably to nobody's surprise, the two don't get along.
Nope.
According to Barkley, he went to one of Boogie's high school games where Boogie complained to the refs, got a technical foul, and fouled out. In high school, Barkley remembers telling reporters he was disappointed in Boogie's temper on the court, but does not remember being critical about his game. Talk about high school drama for no reason. Boogie would be suspended for part of his sophomore season for allegedly punching a high school bus driver. What? However, he would still be ranked the number 2 high school player in his class, right behind his future college teammate, John Wall. They went to Kentucky to play for coach John Calipari, and at 6'11", 292 pounds, Cousins averaged 15.1 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks in his brief 23.5 minutes per game, helping lead Kentucky to the Elite 8. Boogie, again, was an incredible talent, but there were also character concerns. And if you're liking the content, subscribe, because over 75% of you aren't. Trying to hit 1 mil in 2023, and just want to have important discussions with y'all, plus 2 important videos coming next week. Allegedly threw an intentional elbow at a Louisville player, and reportedly threw punches at a South Carolina fan after a Gamecocks upset the Wildcats. Cousins denied both accusations, and neither were corroborated by video or any sources. Most around the Kentucky program had only positive things to say. Coach Cal even said that Boogie is his wife's favorite player. However, one teammate called him unpredictable. He might hurt somebody to tell you the truth. The concerns were real enough to cause Boogie to drop to number 5 in the draft to the Sacramento Kings, even though Boogie was easily the most talented player in the draft. And he was really good coming into the league. He had the 19th highest usage rate in the league as a rookie. He averaged a respectable 14.1 points, 8.6 rebounds, 2.5 assists. The Kings hoped pairing the unpredictable Boogie would balance with their young, mild-mannered wing, Tyreke Evans. For a brief period, Sacktown had visions of their own Kobe and Shaq.
Nani?
Everything is good, right? Wrong. Cousins got kicked out of practice twice, publicly threw Tyreke Evans under the bus by berating him on the court following a defeat, and exchanged haymakers with teammate Dante Green in the locker room after that same loss. As a rookie, Boogie was fined and benched for throwing a choke sign to an opposing teammate while shooting free throws. It didn't help that the Kings were up 5 at the time and ended up losing in OT, but here's the time to help the 20-year-old know what's right and wrong, put him on the right path, but too bad the team was anything but good. Besides Boogie and Tyreke, the team was made up of nothing but 20-year-olds. Nah, seriously, look at the roster. Got more people under 25 than over. Boogie was drafted with a Zion-like 16.4% body fat with no veteran leadership to hold him accountable. Charles has issues with weight too, but credits his veterans for forcing him to get into shape. DeMarcus Cousins never had that, similar to how the Rockets don't have veterans right now. On top of poor roster building, the franchise was in poverty. The Maloof brothers were cash poor and tried to cut corners while they negotiated the sale of the team. As Boogie said, it wasn't the greatest situation, we really weren't playing for the future, it wasn't about getting better, it was about saving a dollar. I had to learn everything on my own. I didn't have a veteran I could go to, I didn't have a coach I could go to, which is a fair point. The Kings hadn't made the playoffs for 5 straight years, and it was gonna get a whole lot worse. Boogie was named to the all-rookie team, but the Kings finished a disappointing 24-58, 14th in the Western Conference. The team loaded up with young talent, taking Jimmer Fredette in the draft above Klay Thompson, and 5'9" Isaiah Thomas with the last pick. Good pick, but IT would need some time to vertically adjust to the NBA game, while Jimmer needed a plane ticket to China. Sorry, Jimmer. Boogie's usage increased, as his overall numbers. He was 9th in usage and averaged 18.1 points, 11 boards, 1.5 steals, 1.2 blocks, but couldn't be a season without some more drama. 4 games into the season, Kings coach Westphal was tired of Boogie's attitude and just sent him home. Yeah, he just gave up and released a statement that Cousins asked for a trade, which wasn't true. All of this happened without the approval of the Kings owner. Westphal hoped to suspend Boogie for 2 games, but management signed with Boogie, allowing him to come back on a team plane. They also decided that Westphal hadn't been winning before Cousins and fired him 4 days later after a 2-5 start. In all of this, Cousins got blamed for the firing, which he resented, saying, "When they say I'm a bad teammate and that I got a coach fired, that irritates the hell out of me. The man got himself fired. He was losing before I got here." The Kings had a 22-66 record, 14th in the West once again, and the 6th straight season of not making the playoffs. And Boogie and the Kings both didn't change their ways. And DeMarcus Cousins always wanted to compete in the playoffs, and so already channel sponsor is giving away more than $100,000 in real-life prizes for their playoff tournament. You get 20 free common cards when you sign up, and with those cards you make lineups and enter competitions. I hope to see Cousins back soon so I can use him. And with how you rank overall in the weekly playoff tournament, you'll get credits you can use to redeem for prizes, and for their unique tier tournament, you could win a VIP experience to the 2024 All-Star Game. Yeah, So Rare is making it happen, and it starts April 11th all the way to the finals. And I'm already stockpiling players for the playoffs. I got Jalen Brunson, Klay comes alive in Game 6. I like to add Donovan and Butler because both go off in the playoffs, and maybe X Factor bag Jordan Poole. So if you want to compete for prizes and VIP experiences, join using the link and have your lineups ready for the first playoff game week on April 11th. If you buy 5 cards from the marketplace, you'll get 1 free limited card on me using the link in the description. And there's over 100 grand in prizes. Another way you don't want to start the year is by drafting a power forward Thomas Robinson 5th in the draft, 1 spot ahead of Damian Lillard, a point guard you desperately needed. And DeMarcus Cousins started the season alright by weighing on the court in full uniform after a game to confront Spurs TV analyst Sean Elliott, who criticized DeMarcus, saying, "Don't start talking and flapping your gums against one of the greatest players ever, he's gonna make you pay." Tim Duncan talked trash too, saying, "Good job, big fella," and proceeded to drop 16 straight points against Cousins. Cousins confronted Elliott in a hostile manner in an animated conversation, and the league suspended Boogie for 2 games. A month later, he would be suspended again. Boogie always played physical, but here it looks like Boogie took a karate chop to OJ Mayo's manhood?
Hey, yo!
Boogie said it was an accident, but he was suspended a game by the NBA. Mayo said that DeMarcus has a chance to be an all-star, but has mental issues and big maturity problems after an incident. 5 games later, he had a halftime blow-up with the head coach. He yelled so aggressively and profanely at Smart in the Staples Center locker room that his bosses told him to go home until they invite him back. Some of these stories don't even seem real, but it happened. DeMarcus' rap sheet goes long, so much so that the media was making up stories about Isaiah Thomas restraining Cousins from attacking a cameraman. That was later proved false. You think 5'9" Isaiah Thomas is holding Boogie back?
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
But by his fourth season in 2014, Cousins was so good that all the other extracurricular activities didn't matter. He averaged 22.7 points, 9th in the league, and 11.7 boards, 5th in the league. The talent was undeniable, but the Kings were, well, the Kings. The Maloofborough sold the Kings right after a season in May of 2013 to Vivek Ranadive, who proposed a 4-on-5 defense with one designated cherry picker and got Mike Malone as their new coach. This was Boogie's third head coach in 4 years, but this time Cousins actually liked him. And despite a punch to Patrick Beverley and pulling Isaiah Thomas away from shaking Chris Paul's hand, it was a bit more calm by his standards. And next year, Cousins was more mature on Team USA and used his gold medal experience into the next season as the Kings started 5-1. Cousins got sick for 10 games, and within those 10 games, the Kings decided to fire Mike Malone. Why? Even worse, Boogie wasn't consulted, saying that he found out on Twitter and that he felt partially responsible for getting sick, which he had no control over. For a player with trust issues, this was an emotional blow. And as Boogie kept getting better and better, becoming an all-star, becoming the 4th player in NBA history to collect 20 plus points, 20 plus rebounds, 10 plus assists, and 5 plus blocks in a single game, their new head coach George Karl was trying to get Cousins traded. Boogie tweeted out a snake and a grass emoji. At every stage, Cousins was either fighting someone on the outside or someone on the inside. The NBA was in on it too. While the Kings kept making dumb mistakes like drafting a projected second rounder, Papagiannis, low-key Papagiannis, with the 13th pick, a 7'2" center, Cousins kept getting better to the point that he was averaging 27 points a game, shooting 36% from 3 in 2017. When LeBron and Draymond both were in love with Boogie. Here, as Cousins scored his 54th point in the game, he spit his mouthguard by accident, got ejected, went to the locker room, and then got unejected. And DeMarcus Cousins said,
"It's ridiculous. It's obvious what's being done out here. It's on a nightly basis. I hope the world can see now what's really going on out here, because it's getting ridiculous."
And they cut off his mic. The funny thing is, I am summarizing a lot of these incidents. There are even more. Too long for one video. And the Kings decided that they had had enough and traded him to the Pelicans. DeMarcus again was hurt, but he was paired up with Anthony Davis. And at the time, this duo was being called the New Twin Towers, and man, was it fun to watch. In the 2018 season, the Pelicans started winning. Playing alongside All-Star Anthony Davis, the duo put up video game numbers while AD helped defend the paint. Boogie was averaging 25 points, 12 boards, and 5.5 assists, legitimately running the offense at times from the perimeter. But on January 26, 2018, in a game against the first seed Houston Rockets, Cousins suffered a rupture of his Achilles, ending his season. And with free agency coming up, Cousins was screwed. Teams didn't really offer Cousins any worthwhile contracts for a 4-time All-Star, and so he made a move that broke Twitter as fans and NBA players cried that the league was broken. Yup, he signed a 1-year, $5.3 million deal with the Warriors to join Curry, Clay, KD, and Draymond. I remember when we all thought we were. Boogie came back, dropped 14 points in 15 minutes, and called his Warriors debut one of the best days of his life. Man, the Kings were really sad, huh? And after finally making the playoffs, Cousins chased a loose ball and tore his quadriceps muscle. He was forced to rehab in 6 weeks, sitting out for 14 games till later rejoining the team in the finals, which he had no business playing. But with KD and Clay hurt, the Warriors were losing all-stars left and right. They lost to the Raptors in the finals, and Cousins went back to the drawing board. He didn't get to really prove himself, and another injury, so he signed a $3.5 million deal with the title favorite Los Angeles Lakers, because Anthony Davis wanted to play with him again. But Cousins tore his ACL from a preseason workout. That might be some of the worst luck I've ever seen for a star athlete. And with all the injuries, Cousins didn't have any option. And part of that was because Boogie at face value wasn't really a good defender. He wasn't able to keep up defensively on the perimeter in switch defenses, and perhaps more importantly, he would sometimes ball watch, lacking defensive focus. Most teams had seen him as an offensive weapon, but with all the injuries, teams weren't willing to give Cousins that chance of running an offense from that low block post area.
That's tough.
It seemed like Cousins had turned into an injury-prone big man with some of the worst injuries in the sport, all in the span of 3 years. But more importantly, that summer in 2019, there was an arrest warrant issued for Cousins on a misdemeanor domestic violence charge. His ex-girlfriend claimed that he threatened to shoot her during an argument. The charges would be dropped 3 months later, but wow. The Rockets said F it and signed him in 2020. And he continued to get in more on-court incidents, but less and less internal issues. But Cousins didn't really look good offensively. Sure, he was still rebounding, but in 25 games, he averaged 9.6 points and 7.6 rebounds while shooting an abysmal 37.6% from the floor. Harden was trying to get out by getting fat, and the Rockets wanted to play their younger perimeter players, so they waived him, and the Clippers picked him up for a 10-day contract. But here's where Cousins turned it around. Coming off the bench, shooting 53% from the field, 42% from 3, and had big performances in the playoffs against the Suns, 15 points, 11 minutes in Game 5, stretches of just dominance. Paul George even said that Cousins is still a dominant big and demands a double team. Cousins still pushed Booker, who proceeded to act like a damsel in distress, but this was a statement. DeMarcus kept asking himself if he still wanted to play in the NBA, saying, "It's hard believing in yourself when nobody else believes in you." And so you would think that after Cousins' playoff performance, teams would be lining up to sign him. Nope, teams still weren't sure, and the Bucks signed him to a 1-year non-guaranteed deal. And from there, he got waived, and the Nuggets picked him up. DeMarcus averaged 8.9 points, 5.5 rebounds in 13.9 minutes for the Nuggets behind Jokic. He dropped 31 points against the Rockets on March 4, 2022, and 19 points in 15 minutes against the Warriors in the playoffs. Cousins had always been getting limited minutes, used more as a burst of offense. The Nuggets coach Mike Malone, who was his previous coach on the Kings, said Cousins has finally found a home. That was last season, but since then, no NBA team has picked him up. It was so baffling that Cousins asked the Warriors GM Bob Myers why he wasn't in the league, and after asking around, Bob said that people are afraid of how you're going to act. Cousins asked why, and Bob just said, well, whatever the reason, it's here now. From kicking chair meltdowns to beefing with his head coaches, beefing with all players, to arrest warrants, DeMarcus Cousins hasn't always been a professional, nor has he received much help. It's not that Cousins isn't good enough to make a team now, even after all his injuries, it's that his skill and talent is no longer worth the supposed headache he has been. Which seems weird when his recent teammates and head coaches have raved about him. And with all the other extracurriculars we've seen in the NBA right now, it's apparent that the NBA collective could take him in, but just decided to be done with DeMarcus Cousins. The all-day notification watch shout goes to Christian Morgan. Thanks for the all-day support. And if you want to know how the Mavericks don't care about Luka, there's a video right here. And if you're still here, you're a real one, so comment afraid so I know. It's your boy MJ. We out, and we vibe.